Today is a big one. We have Rush Hemispheres. Produced by Rush and Terry Brown. Written, produced, and mixed in the typical Rush fashion. By what I mean by that is it's like at this point all the Rush albums sound pretty consistent, so I don't think mean anything more about it than that. Released October 29th, 1978. So it's a quick turnaround from the previous album, A Farewell to Kings. The album cover, a naked man walking across, or I don't know what he's doing. He's kicking or he's pointing and he's okay, and he's walking around on a brain, pointing at a man with a cane dressed in a suit, talks. I think it's interesting. The background is really blue sky, I guess, and I'm not sure what is that? What's the orange? Is that the sun coming up or? I'm not sure. It just says Rush Hemispheres. And it's funny because when I look at this, what do I think of? I think of the Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here cover. And there's a guy standing there in a suit or a tux. And then I was just looking, it's funny, I was just listening to A Delicate Sound of Thunder by Pink Floyd, which is a live album. It's a double disc live CD, and they remastered it, but I have the original. But that's neither here nor there. But it also has a guy on it wearing a suit. There's a guy on it wearing a suit, and then there's another guy on it wearing a suit, I guess, but he's got his back turned to the camera, so I think it's a suit. He's got light bulbs all attached to it. So that's what I always think of when I see the Rush Hemispheres, because I'm a Pink Floyd fan, first, second, or third, and then Rush fan probably fourth. Pink Floyd will come to my mind first. So yeah, and this guy's got a cane too. So clever album cover. You know, the naked man is, I don't know why it's so big in Prague, but it is, with Going for the One by Yes. And I mean, there's a bunch of other album covers. I don't know why they do that. I guess there's a big contrast between the naked man and the guy that's really dressed nicely. But okay, that's that. Rush has this album, Alex Lifeson, 6 and 12 string electric and acoustic guitars, classical guitar, rolling guitar, synthesizer, and Taurus pedals. So this, once again, the synths are back. Neil Peart, drums, orchestra bells, bell tree, timpani, gong, cowbells, temple blocks, wooden chimes, crotales. Okay, Neil does everything. And then Geddy Lee, bass guitar, mini moog, Oberheim, polyphonic, Taurus pedals. And vocals, and of course Geddy's now he's getting more and more hands-on with the synths, but it's not so huge like the next two albums. Okay, so we'll get to that in a minute. This album is about as perfect as it gets for Rush. The end of Farewell to Kings has the hero flying around in the Recante spaceship into the black hole named after the star, and the constellation and the cloud of stars, or the nebula called the Cygnus 1. And he can't control his ship, and we think at the end of the song he's dead or undead or some catatonic state, and he's falling into the star, and then bang, this album picks up with Cygnus X1 Book 2, Hemispheres. And Hemispheres is broken up into 5 parts. So this is a longer track. I think Cygnus X1, it's not called Book 1, but I'll just call it Book 1 for the sake of being clear. Book 1 is a shorter track at about 11 minutes. This is over 18 minutes. So I would have said 17, but it's 18:05. Okay, and it's, of course, in the Rush fashion, it's a complex song broken into 5 parts, and then for the most part, each section's got some verses. So the opening is the prelude. It's instrumental for 2 minutes and 58 seconds, and this is just a verse, and this is the dot 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 dot. You know the part. That's the coolest part of the song, probably. Okay, so that's the opening, and then part 2 is Apollo, Bringer of Wisdom, at 4:29. or 4 minutes and 29 seconds long. This is a verse, and a solo, and what Geddy Lee's doing in the song is screaming the lyrics about Apollo, god of the sun and music, and so he actually is Apollo, right? He's singing from the viewpoint of Apollo, and is in a real high register guitar solo at the end, and it's sort of buried in the mix. But you can hear it. It's not like usually when Alex has a guitar solo, it's like right on top. It's not really right on top. It's just kind of it's right in that pocket in the sweet spot. Okay, and then the third part of the song is Dionysus, bringer of love. So this is the longer part of the song at 6 minutes 59 seconds. It's verse, and that's it. And Dionysus is the god of fertility, wine, and pleasure. And Geddy's singing about "I will soothe your primal fears," which is like it's the opposite of Apollo. Apollo is like the logical. He's doing everything for you, but Dionysus is like appealing to your food and wine. They had a plenty. I will soothe your primal fears. Food and wine they had a plenty. He's setting up a conflict and a war, and he's appealing to your emotional side, your pleasure side. And then the fourth part is Armageddon, battle of heart and mind. Starts at 9:05. This is a verse instrumental. The universe is divided as the heart and mind collided. That's what Geddy Lee's singing. It's the struggle between the heart, what the heart wants, doing what is fun or what is pleasurable, which is the Dionysus side, and the mind being thoughtful and orderly, which is the Apollo side. Okay. In the ninth verse, Geddy sings about taking the Recante to the heart of the Cygnus, to an immortal place. And this is just a really interesting song. So in the fifth part, Cygnus, this is the bringer of balance, and this is the last part of the song. And it starts at 12:01 until the end. So this is a longer part at 5 minutes. It's verse. And the music basically stops and then at the beginning, and then comes back to Geddy singing behind a synth. Honestly, this part 5 of Cygnus sounds like it could be on a Pink Floyd record, really. Just the way they did the synth and the singing. And Apollo and Dionysus recognize the conflict in the war and have empathy towards each other. And Geddy sings, Apollo was astonished, Dionysus thought me mad, but they heard my story further and they wondered and were sad. And then Geddy goes back to screaming again. And then the very end of the song is just a quick, at 17 minutes. Oh, so I misspoke when I said Cygnus was the last part, because part 6 is the sphere, and that's the end, a kind of dream, and it's only a minute long. And it's a fairly light letdown for a Rush song, which Rush is usually, powerful all the way to the end. This is the part where Geddy sings, we can walk all over together. And Geddy's singing he's got a singing voice going, he's not screaming. And Alex is strumming an acoustic guitar, and the battle's over. And it's just a really interesting turn of events coming from the previous album, A Farewell to Kings, because in book 1, he's in the Recante, he's flying around, and look at that, I'm gonna fly, and he's dying, right? But then in book 2, it's this battle between two Greek gods. So I didn't see that one coming when the first time I heard this was way back in the 90s. Okay, so I've been listening to this one forever. But it's just an interesting turn for a story. I guess if it's sort of like an afterlife situation, where your undead soul sees these two gods screaming at each other and causing a war, but then they realize at the end what their insanity has caused, and they resolve it. It's just a cool song. It's one of the best Rush songs. And it's why, frankly, this is the best Rush album. I'll get to that at the end. Okay. That is the Mammoth Prague epic, Cygnus X1, Book 2. That's a lot. The second track is Circumstances at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. It's a more simple song, simple structure, although it's a prog. I would call it prog. It's a verse, chorus, instrumental with a solo, and then a chorus at the end. Um, it's funny because this song kind of blows up the idea of this being a concept album. So let's deal with that at the end. It's the story of Alex living in London, and he just all the same. We take our chances, laughed at by time, tricked by circumstances. Cool song. That's what I read about it. That seems to be what it's about. Circumstances. This is where I am. This is what I'm doing, and that's what they're singing about. And it's just a cool rock, like a prog rock groovy song. It kind of does that through it. There's some synth stuff up front and center at the beginning of the instrumental. And then that's pretty much what the whole song is about. It's a quick one, but cool track. Cool, probably cooler than any of the shorter tracks that are on A Farewell to Kings or 2112. I'll say that. Track 3 is The Trees. I mean, if I were ranking the songs on this album, that's the weakest one, is The Trees. It's this is unconventional for Rush in that it starts with a chorus. So it goes like chorus, break, verse. And I don't have a lot to say about this. It's the story of the maples and the oaks and the woods, and they're not getting along, and the light and the canopy, and the oaks are taking all of it. They're taking all the light and the water, and the solution is to form a union. I guess the end result is you're not really in control. If whether you're a maple or an oak, you're not. You're not in control of your own destiny either, because the woodsman's, as Geddy Lee sings, he's got the hatchet, axe, and saw, and can render you neutral or dead or undead. It's The Trees. I mean, there's not a lot interesting happening in it. There's the middle, that break that after the second chorus. I mean, that's kind of cool, and it is an extended break, and it's like they're making all these weird noises, and there's a weird synth thing going on, and because of that break, I always think that it's a longer song, The Trees. Like in my mind, I think, oh, The Trees is like a 10-minute, almost an epic song, but it's not. It's really short. It's under 5 minutes. So that's The Trees. I don't hate it, but I guess would I give it the check? I mean, there's 4 songs here. 3 of them get the check. I don't know if The Trees gets the check. It's just neutral for me. You probably love it. I think WAPL and Appleton would play it. I would imagine before I ever heard it on the Hemispheres album, that was probably the first time I heard it. Okay, the final track. La Via Strangiato. The Strange Village or Weird City is what Google Translate tells me. Okay. 9 minutes and 37 seconds. This is the best Rush song. Yeah. Not only is it the best, it's my favorite. So I would put, I got a short list too. I get some criticism for giving just about every song or every other song the check mark, but if you're really talking about what are the Rush, like what are the best songs, this is one of them. This is the best one. Okay. I mean, I could rip off a couple of the Necromancer. I like Xanadu a lot. Those are the tops to me. I like YYZ. I'll get to that on the YYZ album, Moving Pictures, but why? Pearl Jam they really ripped off YYZ, by the way. God dang, everybody rips off everybody. I guess that's the way of the world. I digress. La Villa Strangiato, subtitled An Exercise in Self-Indulgence. Yeah, it says that right here. By the way, I didn't go over this. This is another good. Like I said, I used to get these on BMGs in the 90s. See that? It's a BMG reprint. But even though this is a cheap original, it's got the lyrics in it, which is cool, and it's got these cool pictures of the band. Yeah, it says, I got the wrong glasses on. An exercise in self-indulgence. Yeah, so what is this song? It's broken up into 12 parts, and they all go by pretty quickly. Buenas noches, mein Freunds. That's some German and some Spanish, I guess. To sleep, pensions to dream. That goes for about a minute and a half. And then the third part is Strangiato theme. That's the best part. The actual main theme of the song from 2 minutes to 3:15. That's the part that goes. Okay, that's the coolest part of the song. And then Alurkst in Wonderland. I think Alurkst. Rush is funny about this, but I think Alurkst is Alex. Am I right? You Rush super freaks out there know. Lurkst. Alurkst in Wonderland. That's another great part of the song. Then Monsters, The Ghost of Aragon, Danforth and Pape. I don't know what that means. The Waltz of the Shreves. Never turn your back on a monster. Monster reprise. Okay. And then Strangiato theme reprise. Okay. So that's the reprise, and then it ends with a farewell to things. Quick ending, 17 seconds. Okay, yeah, so that's La Via Strangiato. My Rush favorites up to this point, for songs: Anthem, The Necromancer, Xanadu, Cygnus, Cygnus X1 Book 2, and then La Via Strangiato. Yeah, Anthem's okay. I guess if I'm just thinking about stage 1 and stage 2, I'll just go with that. If we go past stage 2, then I have to add a few other ones. But that's it. I'm gonna say, let's wrap this up. This is the best Rush album. It's probably my favorite. It is my favorite. It'll be number 1. Whenever I do the list, it'll be number 1. And it's just a little bit better than A Farewell to Kings. And you might think Permanent Waves is better. And you're not wrong. You might like it better. Or you might be like, what? What about Moving Pictures? You might like Moving Pictures better. That's okay. I wouldn't have any problems with that. But I'll just say that Hemispheres that'll be my number 1. All right. Yeah. What is the next album? I guess Permanent Waves. I'll do that next, probably later this week or next week. And that's it. So this is the best Rush album, and it's my favorite. And it's got some Pink Floydian moments and the artwork, and that's probably why I like it, honestly. And it's a super prog album. And I forgot to look. Where does Prog Archives have it? Let's just look. I usually look this up before I do this, but I didn't do a great job researching, so I'll just do it on the fly. Okay, Rush. .37. That's a really high rating. So that's higher than A Farewell to Kings. I would agree with that. It's higher than Permanent Waves. I would agree with that. I don't base my own rankings based on what Prog Archives had. If you really wanted to say what's the best Rush album, then you just go to Prog Archives and look. But if you want to know what I like the best or what my favorite is, then that's why I'm doing these, and these are my reviews. Yeah, I like it quite a bit. Yeah, like and subscribe. Coach Plow Guy out. Boink.